He stared into the cold, empty fireplace, finally home. He had been away so long, he had almost forgotten what it looked like. They were gone, all of them. He just shook his head and settled into the chair by the hearth. They were shattered once more. It would take time to find each one again, yet he could sense something coming closer. He would just wait, still, silent as stone, like the many statues that graced his territory. Opening her eyes, Roux felt as though she had fallen into a deep sleep. The library was pitch black, yet she could see as though it were daylight. Lifting her head from her knees, she searched the room for any movement, or maybe some of her family returning home. Standing up, stretching her arms and legs out, she moved quietly into the parlor, towards the racks of blood wine. She was weak from not feeding in so long. She grasped a glass and the bottle, pouring the glass full. Lifting the glass, she quietly drinks the liquid. Her body tingles as she feels the fluid draining into her. She fills the glass again, needing to nourish herself more. She moves towards a pile of wood, placed in a perfect stack next to the large fireplace. Striking a match, she lights the kindling. Stepping back, she sips more the blood wine, her thoughts searching for what happened to her family. Where was their leader? Could something have happened to him, she thought, and the others? She had finally found a home here and wanted never to be alone again. Roux gazed into the fire, hoping she would find the answers soon. Long dark lashes flutter open as he listens quietly, never making a move or even taking a breath as she entered the parlor, her steps heavy as if some great burden befell each. Violet orbs stare through the darkness as she pours herself a drink, her movements quiet and graceful like a cat. As the match strikes, his eyes narrow as he focuses toward the light. Suddenly, her senses alerted her to another being close, his brilliant eyes blazing as they catch her own. He smiles.
"Good evening, Roux."
Quickly turning towards the large chair, she could only see the dark outline of him sitting comfortably. As she caught glimpse of him, the words flooded from her mouth. Her expression, one of subtle anger but more of fear, that inevitable thing we all hate more than life or death, the silence of the tomb, the nothingness, which was so comforting in torpor, yet awake, it was worse than death. "Lord Targent, when did you get here?" she spouted out almost catty-like. Before he could answer, Roux hears heavy boots approaching the front of the castle. Then a loud knocking of the great wooden door. She glanced back at Targent. So much life in such a short time, from nothing to a hustle of something. He laughed and said,
"Who's there rapping, tapping on my chamber door?"
He leaned back once more against the smooth leather of his chair and waited. The abruptness of the door opening ended any thought or second thought of entering, as I was ushered into a room at the far side. I could see the fireplace, its flames blazing well now, much better than the moments of smoke I saw far above the building when I first approached. The words of an old Aurora poet, Poe, greet me as I heard the door close slowly behind me. I seemed to reply in fast order, being fond of that particular author. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. My harsh, raspy voice parched from the long trek. I did not stop one moment, just continued to find my way here. I look in their direction, my nostrils picking up the scent of not only the man whose voice found my ears beyond the noise in my head, but a woman's scent as well. I stand there in the entryway, red eyes glowing as they always do, piercing the darkness of the hood. I await to gauge these two, for I am outnumbered, but at least I had some reassurance in the branch that hides partially behind my back. She glanced at the man as the help ushered him inside the parlor, closing the door behind him as the help left. She sensed him not to be human, but one of them. But who? Looking at the man then at Targent, she wondered how his guest would be taken. Stepping to the other side of the chair, she listens, smirking at the man's gestures. She was still a bit angered at feeling as though she was alone again. Lifting her glass, she sipped it slowly, watching the man closely. She filled 2 more glasses with the blood wine, lifting them both, turning back, walking towards Targent, holding the glass towards him, tilting her head slightly. Releasing the glass as he takes it, she turns, stepping towards the man, holding the glass out to him. He takes the offered glass of blood wine, his lips clearly parched and chapped. He raises the vessel to his lips and drains it quickly. Head slightly tilted back, a soft red glow can be seen through the lids of his eyes. His glass lowers, tongue sliding out to lick the remnants from his lips. "Thank you, miss. I was quite parched," he says cordially. Roux steps back towards the large hearth. Lifting her glass, she looks towards the man. "So, do you have a name? Might you be lost, or just wandering?" The light flickers off the leather like flesh on the man's hands. "I am more than a wanderer, and less than lost. Either way, I am here where I hope to find respite and peace." He looks around for a place to set down his glass. Seeing nothing immediately available, he holds the glass firmly, awaits the man's reaction. Then, with a look of realization on his face, a name slides out of his mouth, sounding more like a revelation than anything else. "Targent," he mutters. All this time it took to remember, and now of all times his lips and mind work as one, and the voices start to whisper louder. Targent merely laughs at the man's reply. He chuckled and bid the man to sit by the fire.
Come, brother, enter your home and make yourself comfortable,
he offers. Oh yes, Targent could tell the scent of his own, even though they all had learned many tricks to hide this fact. Targent had many gifts, being an ancient. One of his favorites was his psychic abilities. Targent swept through the man's mind so quickly he would be gone before they even knew he was there. His lashes fluttered closed as he felt the chaos within him. I walk out from within the depths of the great forest. Carrying a sturdy branch, I scavenged off the forest floor. For weeks, I trudged the long, weary path. This random piece of wood now turned walking stick as my only company. Through the thick haze of the great pits, to the vast, seemingly endless garden of stone. For once, the constant chaos and wanton destruction is replaced by crisp, cool lines of many headstones and mausoleums. A sigh escaping my hidden visage as each foot sets forward in a steady pace toward my target, the Castle De Convotise Sang, off to the distance. As a child, I learned about the Matrix Treaty and the now ruler of these lands. My mind reeling from the countless days and nights since my change. My mind still not fully clear about what happened in the great forest, the carnage, my escape. For the life of me, I cannot recall the name of the ruler of the vampire lands. Thinking absently aloud to myself, Target, Tangent. Damn, why can't I remember that name? Each step bringing me closer to the large ominous building, but yet, as I near its front walk, the chimney spews a dark smoke, as if the fires inside the hearth were awoken by my nearing presence. The distance seemed greater when I first viewed it, but that was certainly deceiving, for now I find myself standing before the castle's wooden door, mounting my courage for what hopes to be a better life. Hesitating for a few seconds from beneath my cowl, hands drawn in to hide their leathery appearance, eyes glowing with the deepest red. My nostrils work overtime as my hearing peaks. The voices in my head start to whisper. Shut up, I mutter. I swallow the fear in my mind down to my gullet, and I reach out with the ever-present tree branch, rapping and tapping gently at the door. Targent leaves the man's mind and sits back, staring within the flames of the fire, feeling the same thing he felt within his own brother. When his eyes opened once more, his voice flowed from his lips in a low, timbered tone.
When you have eaten or
He glanced at the man.
fed, you will be shown to your room to rest.
She finished her glass of wine, setting it on the small table. Seeing new servants coming back in, waiting for the gesture of Targent to take care of the man. My name is Roux. I am sure we will run into each other again. But for now, I need to get some fresh air, she said. She nods at Targent as she makes her way out of the parlor. As their guest was escorted out, Targent's full attention returned to Roux. Canting his head, he watched her move outside. He rose and followed her to the front door. Roux stepped out into the night air, the moon beaming down, holding her arms out and smiling. She was suddenly energized with a feeling of things to come. Leaning a shoulder to the doorwell, he watched as Roux embraced the night. The breeze always swept quickly through the dry, dusty lands of his realms, moving dirt and rock from one place to another, shifting the earth like one big mosaic. He stood a moment and began to speak to her once more.
What is the matter, Roux? Feeling a bit misplaced?
She turned back towards the door. Tilting her head, seeing Targent standing there, she takes a few steps back up towards him. Misplaced? She said, shaking her head. Not at all. Last I remembered, I was talking to you in the crypt, and then suddenly I wake up alone. Roux sighs deeply. It doesn't matter. I'm used to it from before I came here. Roux turns around, not wanting him to see the anger lingering in her eyes. Looking up at the moon, she says, "It is good to be out tonight. The air is so brisk, don't you think?" Roux then hops down the rest of the steps and quickly makes her way out towards the endless rows of headstones that lay before her.